Joined now by Cam Jordan's dad, Steve, who Cam flew in to be here to celebrate his contract extension, and he will now presumably be playing in the NFL with the same team for 15 years, should he still be playing through the rest of this contract. What has it meant to be here to see your son sign this?
It's particularly special. I mean, for us to, as a family, come together and to see what he's done over the years. I remember, like he mentioned, being in New York. And while I personally had, some in my mind, I had some insight that I thought he'd have a great career. I didn't know what that would translate into. In terms of being in the league 13 years, I knew he was certainly capable. 15, wow, he's even expanded my thoughts on what he can do, and that's wonderful. But something like this is, to be with the same team, to be this long, to get this last extension, if you will, is really special, and so I'm just thrilled and blessed, frankly, to be here.
Cam has talked about how much he loves New Orleans, not just from the organization, but he talks a little bit about not loving playing in the cold or being in the cold weather. Obviously, you spent your entire career in Minnesota. How rare is it now that father and son both get to finish out their NFL careers with one organization?
It's special, and it doesn't happen as much as I think from a free agency standpoint. Now, in my case, we didn't have true free agency, so until the very end, and I was fortunate to be able to be a part of the Players Association, where we actually did get that free agency lawsuit settled in '92, and so there was an opportunity to get free agency for our team and our players. So that's necessary. It's something that was needed. However, it also meant that for guys that want to stay with the same team, maybe you have that option as well. And so for him to follow, me and get a 13, now 15-year, hopefully career out of this is really special because, again, it translates into being more connected to your community, and he's done a great job in the community. It talks about being involved with your teammates because you get to be around longer with these teammates, and families get to grow up. Kids get to grow up. He got a chance to grow up with some of my roommate Darren Nelson and Uncle Darren to him, and guys like Chris Dolman, who he kind of learned from a lot, and even some of the other guys, Johnny Randall, et cetera. So it means you get to learn and get to know a lot of guys over time and grow families together along with the community work.
One of the things that stood out to me during Cam Jordan's press conference was the fact that when he got into the NFL, he said he had one goal: to earn one Pro Bowl because his dad had 6. He's now earned 8 Pro Bowls and he's signed on now for 15 years. What do you attribute that longevity to?
Well, number one, God. Number one, God. Cam does a lot of great things in terms of nutrition and working out and taking care of his body. He's a tough guy. He plays through a lot of things that, frankly, he probably shouldn't have. But that's okay. That's what we do as football players. And so for him, I love the fact that he has that drive, and he wants to be a part of that, and he wants to grow the team and help others. When he was even in Little League, he started out with a little bit of an attitude because he felt like I made him play, but ultimately he ended up being a team captain, and then we went on to high school, and he was a team captain, and I've guided him a little bit. I've given him some thoughts. But for him to ultimately come into the league, which I knew he would kind of translate those same attributes to the Saints, and that it would be successful. But to really be here that long, to play with that type of longevity and that type of lack of injury or lack of injury that's going to put him out, that's just a God thing. Like I say, he's done his part, but God's done the rest.
You talk a little bit about his drive and motivation, even back to when he was little, playing in Little League. What makes Cam, and why he's always just had this motivation? When did you first see it?
I think we saw it early in a lot of things, because he was super competitive, and so we had to really manage that, And so for him, when I saw him in sports, I kind of knew he was going to have a certain body type as well, just because my frame, Anita's frame, and so certain things. He thought he was going to be a basketball player at some point. I think he would have been a good basketball player, but there's not a lot of 6'4", 290s. Zion Williams, is a new advent, but that might have been Cam back in the day. I don't know, but we just saw a lot of drive. Again, he's the guy that is the first one up in the morning, and he hits the ground running. And like he talked about, I'm going to give it everything I got that day. Come 9, maybe 10 o'clock at night, he goes Avatar, but he's going to wake up at the crack of dawn, and he's going to go get it again. So you see those sorts of things early, and it's fortunately translated in the rest of his career.
I know he doesn't necessarily strive for the accolades, but if he stays on this current pace, he's currently got 115 and a half sacks. And if he stays on this pace for the next few years, he's most definitely going to have some Hall of Fame potential in getting in, maybe a first ballot. Have you thought about what it would be like to see your son put the gold jacket on him?
Yeah, no, that would be super. That would be awesome. Again, that would be another God thing. But I think that he's had an amazing career, and Hall of Fame is certainly in the picture for sure. Whether it's a first ballot or any of that, but I just look at I look at it as a blessing. Again, for him to be here this long, play as well as he has, to have been involved in community and family and mentoring and all of that. Those are some of the intangibles that don't really translate necessarily to a Hall of Fame situation, but they're every bit as important.
And just lastly, I have to ask you, since you guys are on both sides of the ball, was there ever a moment where dad and son lined up against each other on the practice field?
No, well, no. Other than way back in the day, yeah. I used to, I've taken them to the Vikings facility. I let them hit the bags a little bit and do those sorts of things. They would tackle me. We did more probably WWE wrestling in our house than anything. But yeah, we've had a lot of fun with that and playing ball out in the backyard. I always said Cam, I thought would have been a great tight end. To be honest, he's got great hand-eye coordination. He can run, all that sort of thing. But again, he likes to hit people, so sure, go to the D side, go to the dark side.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.